I'm excited to be with you here today. We're going to talk about a day in the life of an innovation leader. I am Alicia M Morgan. I am an innovation leader, and I'm going to share my story with you within pictures and stories and graphics and some ideas about innovation. And I hope you feel empowered to be a more innovative leader after this. On the right side, you see a picture of me looking up. So as an innovation leader, some days it feels bright, and then you're taking all in, you're very reflective. And then on the far right, you see me contemplating on what's going on and what may be next. Let's talk about my background. I am an aerospace and industrial engineer. I've worked in aviation and defense. I've also worked in nonprofits, and I did that by getting a nonprofit management certification. I have worked in after-school programs. I've been the vice president of education and programs at an aviation museum. I've supported career and workforce readiness initiatives in higher education and through community partners and startups. And all of that experience lends itself to where I am now as a PMP and Agile metrics certified. I am a project management consultant, and I also am great at facilitating change on a dynamic and large scale through many different partners. As I look back at my career and I start to connect the dots, this Venn diagram at the right really gives some insight on how innovation works and how I'm able to really collaborate well and ask the great questions and have empathy and lead change management. And you see the first circle here is a public sector. As I mentioned, I worked at a public museum, at an aviation museum. I was the vice president of education and programs. It met a social need, as we see that one of the social needs there is education. So really feeding into K through 12 education. Additionally, talking a little bit deeper is STEM education in particular. And then what we really have to do is we collaborate with other museums and have social programs or independent museum. And then we have financing that goes into all of that and associations that we partner with. And this is a cultural heritage point. We really have to make sure that we restore, we curate information. As you scale a business, you want to make sure you're curating and connected to your audience as well, and making sure you're telling the story and constantly doing research. And then how does this support a business value, a business function? And businesses also work with community organizations to provide community service and impact. So I've worked in Fortune 500 companies, et cetera. All these things are interconnected. And as you think about interconnection and leading and with innovation as an innovation leader, you really want to connect the dots well. And so doing that, figuring out in your career where you are in this social ecosystem and innovation, and where your path is, where you have been, and where you can really build more social capital is important. A morning routine is so important. As you start your day, you want to make sure you're fueling yourself and you have the best energy sources possible, whether you're taking your vitamins and you're eating a healthy, nutritious breakfast that supports your body. And then mindfulness throughout the day, you want to be able to identify if you're getting tense and stressed, and whether you can do some deep breathing and calm down or relax yourself. And there's several breathing techniques that you can go through. And having affirmations for yourself for the day. It's like, I am an innovation leader. I am a connector. I am highly engaged with my team. I'm ready to learn as well as teach when necessary. So coming up with those things for yourself is very meaningful. Or I am confident in the moment and I'm living in the present, whatever that is for you. Make sure you have a morning routine and make sure that you're fueling your body. This is a very important topic, and it's touchy sometimes. We don't always talk about failure, but when we're thinking about innovation, There is no innovation without failure, period. It's always iterative. You're always learning. You're prototyping. You're putting something out there in the market, and then you make adjustments as necessary. You may not have the liberty of waiting years for product development or research and development. You have to be willing to try. Remember, what's that percentage that you're going to put into doing your new ideas, whether it's 10% or more, really thinking about that when we think about your rule for innovation. And then we have plans and they don't always work out. Now in this video, it's a black and white video. Every time you come up with a plan or have an idea, it's not always black and whites in the gray area. There'll be things moving by. The cars can symbolize how you figure out that the other people in your industry may be moving, and you're thinking that, oh, I'm not moving this fast enough. But you really have to be willing to march to the beat of your own drum while also paying attention to the market. The rule of innovation: how much you are willing to invest in new ideas. As I talked about earlier, I use that number 10%, but this is coming back to, what are you willing to invest in innovation? So here is, it's not the final, because depending on your business, you will come up with different percentages. So 70% of your resources in human capital are in the core business, 20% in new developments, 10% on new ideas. Whatever the ratio or percentages are for your business to think about. And a way to go about this is the ambition matrix. And so on the right, you see here, so transformational, developing breakthroughs and inventing things for the markets that don't exist yet. Remember, as you're planning, you're learning, and you're walking through, are you willing to not know and go on forward? There are many unknown unknowns and that you don't know, and really taking the risks or having that risk attitude that you're willing to do so. And then adjacent. So how can you expand from an existing business into a new company business? Thinking about that. And then the core is your bread and butter, the optimizing for existing products or existing customers. Remember that this 70-20 rule of innovation is a foundation. It's subject to change based on where your business is. And these ratios can also change as you go through your short-term goals, your long-term goals, etc. Most importantly, as we think about the rule of innovation and being an innovation leader, is that the team, you're always taking it to the team. And this is not to be confused where everybody has the same idea as a group think and we're not really going outside the box. No, this team huddle is about ideation and learning and brainstorming. As you come up, talk about your ongoing products and your projects, you share ideas and align with your vision. And remember that collaboration is key. This is not all about command and control. Hey, this is what I want, do it, and have it done by this deadline. We're really understanding as you go what are the critical success factors, what are things are along critical paths, and what do we know, what risks may come in. So the team huddle is designed for all the knowledge workers in this particular industry to get together and figure out the best path forward. Feedback matters. As a leader, especially an innovative leader that's very visionary and it has driven by moving forward in a particular direction, make sure that you're mindful of the things that you say, because no comment is trivial. Their team looks up to you as the innovation leader, and they are bringing you ideas and they're telling you some things that you may not always know. They are identifying some elephants in the room. So really be mindful of what you're saying to them. You can be short and curt sometimes, and being able to come back and say, you know what, I didn't really listen to the team. I'm in that command and control, and really having someone around you that can come back and say that, and then getting comfortable enough with the team to say, hey, you're being a little bit too controlling and not letting us drive this because we know the things that you don't necessarily know. Meeting with the stakeholders is very important. In all of these photographs, you can see that I'm really engaged. In the top photograph, that's me with community partners at a museum. At the bottom, I'm at one of the leading companies here, Texas Instruments. And so really always engaging with the stakeholders was a part of what I do. And you want to make sure that you're engaging with them and learning from them at all times and really understanding their needs. They're always subject to change. Remember, as we're coming up with that rule of innovation and our percentages, depending on what's happening in business, they're always subject to change. It's very important that we really think about, we started the day with breakfast. Now it's time for lunch and to take a breather, to take in all that's going on. And you may be so serious and not so serious. This is a story of an innovation leader. So make sure that you're always nourishing both your body and mind. Make taking a break a priority. It's something that you need to do, not would like to do. It's necessary. Your body will tell you. And invite someone to join you. There's this phrase out there that says never eat alone. Now, sometimes you may, but don't make that the standard. Make sure that you're reaching out with it. And in fact, if you identify that someone on the team is not necessarily engaging in the group, you may offer to take them out to lunch away from that environment and really get to know that person. You will be surprised at what you can learn. And that information you can use to go back to the team and incorporate their team and figure out what's going on. It may be a question of direct versus indirect communication and figuring that what's going on, because you can always learn something. Remember that. As we think about innovation, it's very important to research. Contagious is a great book by Jonah Berger, and it really talks about why things catch on. And there are really different steps that you go through, and each letter stands for something. So the social currency, right? What will I gain by using your product and service? So people like to be in the know. So what can they gain from that? The triggers, like what triggers that you saw that they need and that they want to change, but what does your product prove? And the emotion behind it, the pain point that happens, and then the public and what's your reputation you want to build to show what you do and they can see it and it has a practical value and you're really telling stories. One of the big difference for me from working in for-profit companies and then going into nonprofits is how much both quantitative and qualitative data really matters. We get to this meet the bottom line, profit and loss, where you're talking about scaling for the future, being more agile and really understanding the team. The stories matter. And one of the things that I did find very beneficial from my engineering experience was value stream mapping, where you have your before, your as is state, and then in the middle, and then the story of transformation. So as much as you can show that throughout this presentation, I've used photos from my own journey so that you could see me engaged in what I'm doing as an innovation leader. So that's also very important. Now, here is me again in action, showing pass the mic, teach, learn, and listen. So these photographs, literally on the top left-hand side, you can see me passing the mic to a student at a museum programming, and then the student actually on the mic, again, me again, passing the mic to a student, me showing how I can be down to earth and with the students, me learning from a student, and then in a group of students, and some of them are looking like, what are you talking about? Me sharing my journey with students and then empowering young girls. The purpose of this slide is to let you know, in whatever environment you're in, you're always in the teach, learn, and listen mode as an innovation leader because you want to be at the pulse of what's happening in the market and really understand from that feedback how you could go through those steps, as we talked about in the book Contagious, and really figuring out how to really allocate your ratios as we talk about the rule of innovation. Brainstorming is always happening, and you want to know what matters. So here's me There are people who have already put in on this side here the considerations and then the strategies. So I have my sticky note on what matters, and we're thriving and brainstorming because it's very important that we constantly do this, especially as we are evaluating what we've done and how well it's working for our rule of innovation. Now we have to talk about tech exploration, collaboration, and project management tools. So the new and emerging technologies and using generative AI, those are just a few. There are many other tools. I've used those in general. And then making sure that we know that innovation means staying curious all the time to see what's out there. Now, self-reflection. Whether you are sitting at a window, journaling, or reviewing the day, I love technology. I have an iPad. I will use computers and whiteboards, etc. But something about just writing it down sometimes really takes it a different level. So really reflect on what worked, what can we improve. There's many other questions you can ask because all of this fuels growth. As we talk about being an innovation leader and your organization scales for the future, remember that agility is vital to thrive. Now, I know that metrics matter. You have key performance indicators, you have performance goals, you have to think about your profit and your loss, etc. I want you to understand that project metrics do matter, but I don't want you to become so focused on that and meeting that people try to game the system and try to make it perfect and they won't tell you what's really going on, because we want to make sure in an environment where innovation is happening, that feedback is always occurring. So in that, we also don't overshadow creativity by focusing so rigidly on metrics. Again, consider the customer feedback, the market trends, and the future developments as you think about your rule of innovation percentages, and also how you're interacting with the team. Remember, no word or things that you're saying is trivial. And then make sure that you enable the team as they're self-organizing to pivot as you figure out what's the best path forward as an innovation leader. Woo, that was a lot, right? For a day in the life of an innovation leader. I hope that you have found this information very useful. As much as you can, please feel free to leave a comment on what resonates the most with you as an innovation leader, or there's a particular action that you want to take. Please feel free to leave it in the comments. And remember, as a final note, that in an environment where there's innovation, failure must occur. Until next time, be innovative, be able to fail, and adapt to move forward.